Good afternoon. So we start off by reciting the Heart of Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the higher triple gem. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on the mass of Vultures Mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Ayalklishvara looked upon the very practice of profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Ayalklishvara: how should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activities of profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Ayalklishvara said this to the Venerable Sharadvatiputra: Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activities of profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristics, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element, and no mental conscious element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly specifies all suffering, should be known as truth, since it's not false. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is declared: Tayata gate gate, paragate, parasam gate, bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Ayalklishvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvatiputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Ayalklishvara, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Now take refuge and generate bodhicitta. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So let's do a short meditation to calm our mind. So please sit properly in the meditation posture. Ensure your backbone is reasonably straight. And simply allow your mind or your attention to rest on your breathing. Meaning, just become aware of your breath. As your body breathes in, be aware that you are breathing in. As your body breathes out, be aware that you are breathing out. So in this way, breathing in, you are aware. Breathing out, you are aware. And just relax and rest in this state of pure awareness of your breath. Now that your mind has become quite calm, so we do some reflection. Think that the most meaningful way for us to live our life is to use our life to benefit others. By helping them remove their suffering and attaining happiness. Not only temporal happiness of this life, but also help them to attain happiness in all future lives, and also the ultimate happiness of liberation and enlightenment. In order for us to be able to perfectly do this work of benefiting others, we ourselves have to first attain the fully enlightened state. We ourselves have to first become a fully enlightened Buddha. To be a Buddha, we have to complete the two accumulations, the accumulations of merits and the accumulations of wisdom. And it is only through this practice then eventually we will become a fully enlightened Buddha. And then when that happens, we will be able to truly benefit all sentient beings, truly work for the welfare of all sentient beings, to bring them happiness, to remove their suffering, and guide them to the ultimate happiness of liberation. So this is the purpose of our life, and this is the reason why we are gathered here today to listen to these very profound teachings of the Buddha on dependent origination. So in this way, adjust the motivation for coming here to listen to the teachings. So last week we started this 7-week or 8-session or 7-session course on introductory course on dependent origination. And we explained a little bit on what is dependent origination. We also explained a little bit on how dependent origination is the essence of Buddha's teachings in terms of the Four Noble Truths, and also on Buddha's teachings of impermanence and on karma. So today we continue to cover this topic on the dependent origination. And it's also important for us to remind ourselves the importance of understanding dependent origination. Because dependent origination, when we first listen to it, initially it seems to be quite simple, quite logical. Then later on, as you go deeper into it, you find that it gets a little confusing. Things exist or things do not exist. If you say things exist, they're also not correct, because things do not exist. So if you say things do not exist, that's also not correct, because things do exist. So that's where sometimes we get confused when we go deeper into the subject. But nevertheless, dependent origination, or at least having some basic understanding of dependent origination, is very important. And this is exactly what Buddha said. All right? So Buddha said that deep indeed is this dependent origination. So Buddha already warned us that dependent origination, it is very profound. The teachings of dependent origination is very profound. However, it says, Buddha said, it is through not understanding and penetrating it, that means dependent origination, that people become entangled like a tangled ball of threads. We are the people. We are the ordinary sentient beings. Right now, we are living in a state of confusion. Our life is like a tangled ball of threads. We completely tie ourselves in knots. So, and if we do not make an attempt to untangle ourselves, then forever we're going to stay in samsara. Forever we're going to experience this dissatisfaction called dukkha, this dissatisfactory state of existence, whereby the essence of which is the nature of suffering. So, how do we get ourselves out of this state of entanglement? Buddha said that as long as we do not understand dependent origination, and not only understand it, as long as we do not have penetrating understanding of dependent origination, we will remain entangled in samsara. So that itself shows how important dependent origination is, the teachings. Unless, if we say, oh, I don't mind samsara, suffering is good. Today I have happiness, tomorrow I suffer. Oh, that's wonderful. So some people do enjoy samsara, And actually, to a certain extent, we ourselves, whom we call ourselves as Buddhist practitioners, we also enjoy samsara. We find quite fun. Because today we may be complaining, suffering about some pain or some situation where we are we do not wish for. Then tomorrow, when the whole situation changes, then things become good. Then we say, the world is so wonderful, life is so wonderful, everything is so beautiful. And then you find that samsara is not bad. But as long as you have this sort of attitude, you stay in samsara. Morning, you wake up, you feel very happy. By the time you go to bed in the evening, you are completely filled with anger and hatred and grief. And that's how samsara is. So how do we get out of this? Buddha says that it is through a thorough understanding of the workings of dependent origination. So this is just to emphasize how important this subject is. In fact, because dependent origination is the core essence of Buddha's teaching, 84,000 teachings of the Buddha. If you proclaim yourself as a practicing Buddhist who is following the teachings of the Buddha in order to attain liberation, then you have to understand dependent origination, because there's no other way out. All right. So this was a slide shown last week, but I show it again just to remind ourselves of the importance of dependent origination, even though sometimes it gets very confusing, and also to give ourselves some encouragement. Every time we forget, every time we get lost and get confused when we're trying to understand dependent origination, then we must remind ourselves these words of the Buddha, that if you want to get out, die, must learn this. Die, must learn to understand this dependent origination. And die, must apply it, not only to understand it, but to apply it in our life. And once you understand that, once you put it into action, even a small little bit, immediately you find that the whole world opens up. A lot of the burden which we carry with us on our shoulders immediately sort of just disappeared. Just vaporize. That's how powerful dependent origination is, the teachings of dependent origination. So please bear that in mind. And today we continue with talking about dependent origination. As I said last week, we covered in terms of the Four Noble Truths and all that. So today we continue touching on the 12 links of dependent origination and also other phenomena, not only just dependent origination, but other phenomena. See, sometimes we think that when we started by saying that dependent origination is the core teachings or the core essence of Buddha's teaching, we think that dependent origination applies only to Buddha's teachings, which means that Four Noble Truths, impermanence, and then 12 links of dependent arising, the whole cycle of cyclic existence is that. Then what about all the other things? Phenomena, the rain, the sun, all these, they are also based on dependent origination. That's why it says the interdependency of all phenomena. Okay? And what Buddha has taught us is about all phenomena, not just merely ourselves, our suffering, but the workings, the happenings, the arising of the whole universe, all phenomena. So today we cover briefly on that. So just a reminder, just go through. What is dependent origination? So in Sanskrit, pratya samutpada. So it is commonly translated as dependent origination or dependent arising. And this dependent origination states that all dharmas, that means all things, dharma here means all things, all phenomena, arise in dependence upon other dharmas. That means for something to be there, for something to come about, it must depend on something else. So the statement here says, if this exists, that exists. That means if there's this, then there's that. Okay? On the other hand, if this ceases to exist, that also ceases to exist. This statement here is very important. If this exists, that exists. If this ceases to exist, that also ceases to exist. So right now, at this point, we're going to apply this to samsara. All right? Samsara, our suffering. If the causes of suffering is there, then that exists, means suffering will be there. Right? However, if the causes cease to exist, if there's no cause of suffering, then suffering also disappears. Get that or not? All right? Because of this, therefore, there is suffering. How do we remove suffering? It's not trying to escape from suffering. For us, we want to escape from suffering. Right now, the weather is so warm. What is our thinking? Go to somewhere where it's nice and cool. Go to an aircon room or whatever it is. Stay inside the air-conditioned room. Or go to a country where it is still nice and cool. So we're trying to escape. But on the other hand, if you understand that we don't have to escape, if you can remove the causes, then that suffering will no longer be there. So now come back to this 12 link of dependent origination. This course is not to explain the whole workings of 12 link of dependent origination, But just to give you an idea how 12 links of dependent origination is explained on the basis of interdependence of causes and effect. So the principle of dependent origination is also applied to the teachings of the 12 links or the 12 nidanas to describe the change of causes which results in rebirth and dukkha. And therefore, by breaking the chain, that means ceasing the causes, liberation from this endless cycle of rebirth and dukkha can be attained. That statement, again, please keep this in mind, very, very clear. Because if your purpose is to attain happiness, whether temporal happiness of this life or temporal happiness of future lives, or the ultimate happiness of liberation, you must know what to do. You remove the cause of suffering. Once you remove the cause of suffering, then there won't be any suffering. Suffering will also cease. And when suffering ceases, means what? You enjoy happiness. So this is the core teachings behind, the core principle behind Buddhist teachings. So for those of you who may not be familiar, in some of the temples, you see, not so much here. Singapore, maybe not so much, but I think in India and also in India and Nepal, a lot of the temples outside. Before you go into the temple, before you go into the main gompa, no? That means the veranda there. Then sometimes you see the painting of this. This is the wheel of life, the cycle or the circle of life. This painting here, and briefly, right in the center are the three poisonous attitude of the drawing of a snake, a chicken, and a pig. A pig, a snake, and a chicken, representing the three poisonous attitude of attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Then outside, that is one side is white, on the left-hand side is white, on the right-hand side is dark-colored or black. Shows the karma created due to the three poisonous attitude. The white one are the virtuous actions. The other side, the right-hand side, half cycle, is the dark side, is the non-virtuous actions. So white virtuous actions bring us up to rebirth in the higher realms, and then on the dark side, go down to the three lower realms. Then outside, there's six sections. Six sections here is the drawing of the 6 realms of cyclic existence, representing the hell realms, the hungry ghosts, the animal realms, and then on top will be the human realms, the god and the demigods. Okay, so how all this come about? How this whole thing about we are taking rebirth in the higher realms or the lower realms? How does this work? So that is represented by the picture on the outermost ring. There are 12 sections there. These 12 sections represents the 12 links of dependent origination. It is through these 12 links, then that's how the whole samsara comes about. Continue to turn. That's why it's called the wheel of life. Our life just continue to turn like this, life after life after life. So there are 12 pictures there. Anyway, then the whole thing is held on, this whole wheel of cyclic existence is held on by this creature, which is the Mara, the Lord of Death, that we are always under the control of death, like this. So anyway, as I said, we're not going into details of that. But out of this 12 link of dependent origination, how does it work? The 12 links are that it is, as I shown earlier, it is in a circle. And the 12 links, the first one is ignorance. That is the very first of our, the start of it, ignorance. Then ignorance here includes what? Includes ignorance of karma, that means not believing in karma, not believing in rebirth, not believing in some of the other things, including the dependent origination, and not believing in emptiness. So these are all the various types of ignorance we have. Due to ignorance, not understanding karma, not understanding the emptiness of it, we are driven by our attachment, our anger, and then we create negative karma, okay? Or even positive karma. That itself is karmic formation. Due to our ignorance, we do negative things. Due to our ignorance, we also go about doing positive things. Doing positive things also is due to ignorance, okay? So then we have karmic formation. To explain the 12 links of dependent origination is quite complex. There are many different ways or approach to use the 12 links to see how they operate. But a very simple, straightforward way would be like this. I just use it here. First 2 links here we can consider as what happened in the past life. Okay? Previous life, past life. So in the past, due to our ignorance, because we are ignorant, then we go and create karmic formation, either positive, but mostly negative. And when we create positive or negative karmic formation, what we live in our mind, past life, in our mind, is the imprint, karmic imprint. It goes into our mental consciousness in the past life. Okay? So that imprint is there. And that itself causes us to take rebirth in this life. This is what I call the consciousness. So 1, 2, and part of 3, which is the causal part, is belonging to the past life. Then in this life, because of the karmic imprint that we have in our consciousness, then the effect takes place, and in this life, we take rebirth, right? So that is due to consciousness. That means our consciousness goes into our mother's body, and we take rebirth. Goes into our mother's body, our mother's womb. So in our mother's womb, we have name and form. That means we start to grow in the mother's womb. The body, the feature. The fetus in the mother's womb, right, starts to grow. So that's called the name and form. And once, as the name and form, that smaller lump in our mother's womb starts to form and grow bigger and bigger, then it develops the 6 senses. The 6 senses develop. 6 senses are what? Vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and mental consciousness is the development stage of the 6 senses. All the 6 senses are developed within our mother's, while we are still in the mother's body. So then we are born, okay? We come out. So we come out from the mother's body, we have eyes, we have ears, we have nose, we have tongue, we have the sense of touch, and we have the mental consciousness. Then comes contact. When there's no contact, nothing happens. Contact means we see something. We see something beautiful. We see something not beautiful. We hear something, and like this. So these are the contacts of our senses. So once you have contact, then in our mental consciousness, feeling arises. We see something straight away is like or don't like. Hear something means like or don't like, or neutral. Usually feelings are three aspects. Pleasure, or unpleasant, or neutral. Both up. Doesn't matter. All right. So when we hear something, the same sort of feeling will arise. So hearing, touching, we touch something. Oh, so soft, I like. Oh, so rough, I don't like. Oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter. It's just a piece of cloth. Neutral. So like this, feelings will develop in our mind. And then when that feeling arises, that's still fine. Then we start to have craving. Because I like, so I want. If you stay at I like, it's fine. Oh, I like. You like the food? Yeah, I like. We'll stop. But then you have craving. I like the food. Tomorrow must come again. Then start to have craving, attachment to it. And craving itself is still not so bad. You end up as grasping. Tomorrow cannot come. No, die must go. We must. So there's a strong grasping and not wanting to let go. And that is the grasping. And because of this grasping itself, then develops a becoming, a potential. That forms an imprint, another imprint in our mind. The strong grasping of wanting something becomes a potential for us to take rebirth. And because of that potential, up to this, point number 1, number 2, and part of number 3 happened last life. So the second part of number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 happens in this life. This is just a simple way of explaining. As I said, there are many different ways of explaining. So that potential, number 10, that potential, that becoming will pull us to our next rebirth. That means when we die, there is a potential that will, what they call a throwing karma, will throw us to next rebirth. And that causes next rebirth. Number 11 and 12 is next life. That causes us to take rebirth in next life. And because next life we are reborn again, then next life we will go through aging and death. And like this, then because we take 11, 12, we take rebirth again and go through the cycle again and again. You can analyze consciousness again and six senses and then more grasping. And that's how we remain in cyclic existence. This is what I call the 12 links of dependent origination. Starting from 1, ignorance, going around to aging and death, and then when we die, we take rebirth again, and then we die, we take a rebirth again, and like this. Okay? So, as I said, we'll not spend too much time on this. Now, this is causes and effect. Because of ignorance as a cause, we create, number 1, because of ignorance as a cause, then we create karmic formation. And because of the karma that we have created, then it plants as a cause, then the result will be that it plants imprint, positive and negative imprints in our consciousness, number 3. Then because of the positive and negative imprint that we have in our consciousness, we take rebirth, and then we have form and name and form. And because having the name and form itself, that means the shape of a being, then we develop 6 senses. And because of having 6 senses, that allows us to see, to hear, to touch and all that, then to make contact. And because of the cause of making contact, feeling develops. And because the feeling developing of like, don't like, neutral, then we start to have craving. And because of craving as a cause, then the result, it grows stronger, it becomes grasping. Because we grasp so strongly to different things, that forms a potential in our mental continuum, number 10, that will cause us to take rebirth again, another rebirth. And because of having this potential, therefore, we will take rebirth again in next life, 11. And because we take rebirth again in the next life, we have to go through aging and death. And in the aging and death itself, the process of aging and death, that means in the process of number 12, due to ignorance, again we start the whole thing again. And like this, it goes on and on. So understand this 12 from the point of dependent origination. Okay? Cause, effect. Cause, effect. So at this point, anybody can offer some solution to it or not? Earlier we said, this exists, therefore that exists. Because of ignorance, therefore, number 1, because of ignorance, because ignorance exists, therefore we do karmic formation. All right? So what's the second part of the sentence? If this ceases to exist, that also ceases to exist. So therefore, we remove the cause. You remove the cause, then you won't have the result. So in order to stop samsara, in order to attain liberation, you turn it, go anti-clockwise. All right? If there's no aging and death, all right, if there's no rebirth, then there's no aging and death, okay? So, like this, it is explained like this, okay? Aging, death, the same thing. I've just drawn it in this different way, now going anti-clockwise. So by removing rebirth, we will, okay, show again, in case you didn't catch it. Number 11, by removing rebirth, we don't have to go through aging and death, correct or not? If you don't born, you have not born again, do you have to age or not? Don't have to. You do have to fall sick or not? Don't have to. You have to die or not? Don't have to, because you don't take rebirth again. That's why for us, as Dharma practitioner, we aim not to take rebirth. Some other tradition, they look for immortality. Don't die. This life, I want to live forever, don't die. Buddhist teachings say cannot be. It's impermanent. Sure, you'll get old and sure you get die eventually. Even you live for 1,000 years, 10,000 years, you sure eventually will have to die. So how to stop? You stop. Don't take rebirth. You don't take rebirth, then you don't have to die. So which means that if you remove the cause of rebirth, then aging and death will disappear. So work on the rebirth, then aging and death will disappear. Then how do you remove rebirth? You remove your becoming. If you don't have the potential to take rebirth, then you will not take rebirth. So like this, you work on your potential, and then rebirth will be gone. And how to remove that potential of wishing to take rebirth? You don't grasp. So you remove the grasping, potential or the becoming will be removed. So work on grasping, then potential will be removed. So like this, you go through craving, grasping. If you have no feelings, then you won't grasp, or you won't crave for something, right? If you find that it's neutral, then you won't look for something. So like this, you go back, contact comes feeling, senses gives the contact, and name and form. Like this, as you go through steps by steps, finally, you find that how to remove, you work on ignorance. You remove ignorance, then you will not have karmic formation. That's why Buddha says ignorance is the cause of our suffering. So if you remove ignorance, then the whole cycle is finished and you attain liberation. Okay? Can do? Can. So simple one, right? Very straightforward, step by step like this. If you know how to do it step by step, then it can be attained. Because Buddha said so. Buddha has shown us the way. He did it himself. He's the example. So with this understanding in mind, when we practice, you must have full confidence, I can do it. It's not only Buddha can do it, we can do it. Once and for all, we can break cyclic existence. Once and for all, I can attain liberation, complete happiness without any more suffering. And that determination depends on how strong you feel about suffering. As I said earlier, if you feel that the world is still wonderful, food is still nice, all the beautiful, nice, tasty food. Not in Singapore, you can't get tasty food in Singapore, but elsewhere in Malaysia and all that, then you say, wow, nice, still nice. And attached to that, then you won't get out. Okay? I'm not saying that you don't enjoy your food. Enjoy your food, but then you see, you have the feeling, as long as you don't have the craving and the grasping, then you can get out. Okay? So, like that. So anyway, this is a very brief explanation of dependent origination. I've taken too much time on this, but anyway. Yeah. So now we come to a more general topic on the interrelationship of all phenomena. Now we no longer talk about just suffering, Four Noble Truth, traveling or dependent origination, or all that. But in general, why all phenomena are actually operating under this dependent origination, the rule of dependent origination. So here it's like a point of clarification. So Pratya Samutpada is sometimes called the teachings of cause and effect. This is what we usually say. Dependent origination means cause and effect. Is like I just explained earlier. This is the cause, therefore this is the result. Cause and effect. But it says here, but that can be misleading because we usually think of cause and effect as separate entities, with cause always preceding result or effect, and one cause leading to one effect, one result. This is generally how we think. But the real operation is not so simple. Right? We always say, oh, because of this, therefore this happened now. And that's where we always point finger now. Because of you, you're the cause, what? All my trouble is you. You are the cause. Because of you are the cause, then I have the experience this result. If we think that it's like one-to-one, no, not like this. If it's one-to-one so simple, then life is much simpler. Not like that, okay? But this is how we generally think. So it says that that's why it can be misleading. What we need to think is that one cause is never enough to bring about an effect. Now, this is a wisdom. One cause is never enough to bring about effect. Everything is a result of multiple causes and conditions. It's a result of multiple causes and conditions. This is the coming together of substantial causes and other various supporting causes. These two terms, take note of that, substantial causes and supporting causes. For instance, we say that, you are the cause. You cause, let's say for instance, you have an appointment with your friends and to watch a movie, whatever it is, okay? Then your friend who was holding the ticket came late. You come late, that's why now I missed the movie, Very straightforward, all right? But it is not. Then your friend will say, no, I come late itself. There are many other reasons. First, MRT breakdown. Bus supporting, the bus services, all that not running smoothly. What? The person, your friend coming late, seems to be the main cause. It's not. There's a lot of other causes behind it. And that on that basis, that caused your friend to come late. So although you look at your friend coming late as being the main cause of you missing the show, but in reality, maybe the main cause is MRT breakdown, right? So where? Which one is the main cause? Which one are the supporting causes? Maybe because of MRT breakdown, therefore has to take bus, and then because of that, it was also raining, etc., etc. So there are many things. So usually there will be what they call a substantial cause, which we can roughly say, this is the main cause. Oh, because of rain, therefore it's flood. Yeah, that seems to be a substantial cause. But there are also supporting causes. Maybe the drain was clogged up, but whatever it is, a lot of rubbish not cleared, and therefore because of that, then there was flooding. If the drains were cleared regularly, there's not clogged up, then even if it's raining, then maybe there's no flood. Maybe at this time it was a high tide period, right? High tide period, the water from the sea comes in and see the drain water level goes up. And because of that, the rainwater cannot go out. So all these are supporting causes that cause flood. So remember, when we talk about cause, effect, it is not just one cause, one effect. Many causes and then many effects. So far, okay, this is quite simple. Furthermore, cause and effect co-arise. They arise simultaneously, co-emergence. If there's no cause, can there be an effect? If there's no cause, there can be no effect. If there's no effect, can there be a cause? This one must think a little bit. If there's no effect, can there be a cause? If there's no flooding, can there be a cause of flooding? There may be rain. If there's no flooding, which is the result, can there be a cause of suffering, cause of flooding? No. If there's no suffering, like if there's no flooding, then how can there be a cause of flooding? This now starts to get a little bit, you need to contemplate, you have to question. The whole thing about dependent origination is not, you just listen. You listen, then you have to contemplate. Does it make sense or not? Eventually you'll find that it does make sense, okay? So therefore, cause and effect co-arises. It's not that there's a cause, then there is a result. It's like one way. It's not like this. They come about. So cause and effect co-arises, and also a cause must at the same time be an effect. A cause must be an effect. So a cause must also be an effect. Let's say your friend is late for the movie, right? So we say that you coming late is the cause of me missing the movie. Okay? So you're the cause. Okay? So that cause of you coming late at the same time must be an effect. Why did he come late? You say, you come late. Because of you coming late, that is the cause for me to miss the movie. Now, why did he come late? This cause of, we look at it, that he come late itself is actually an effect. He come late is because the bus broke down. The bus broke down was the cause, and because the bus broke down, therefore he came late. And because he came late, therefore we missed the movie. Catch or not? Yes.
Could the cause have taken, or the cause may be in place, but the effect, is not effected yet? As in the case of flooding, the drain may be choked, but because there's no rain, therefore there's no flooding yet.
Okay, good, very good question, good comment. But if there's no rain, then there's no talk about flooding. When we say, because there's no rain, although the drains are clogged, there's no rain, there's no flooding. These are conceptualization. We are looking at it directly happening. The drains are all clogged up, nobody clean. Okay, a lot of rubbish there. But like you say, there's no rain. So if there's no rain, then why talk about flooding? So your question is that the effect is not there. This is exactly what we're talking about. The effect of flooding is not there. All right, it has not happened. So then there's no cause. Because there's no rain.
Could the road be replaced?
No. You see, when we talk about cause and effect, we are not talking about the potential. We are talking about the actual happening. All right, the actual happening. Later on, we go a little bit deeper, then you can think about the same point. We're covering the same thing again. Okay, just bear this in mind. So every effect must also be the cause of something else. So the effect now is what? We miss the movie, right? The fact that we miss the movie, then we go and, then we say, since we missed the movie, already started halfway, no point going in, right? Then might as well go and have a cup of coffee next door. The fact that you're having a cup of coffee is the result of you missing the movie. We're talking about the actual happening. You can always say that, but after we see the movie, then we still can have the coffee. But that's a different event. We are actually talking about, when we talk about cause and effect, we are not talking about supposing this, supposing that. We're talking about that is happening, exactly that is happening. The fact that we are right now sitting in the coffee shop, drinking coffee at this time when the movie is already half running, that result of us sitting here drinking coffee instead of watching the movie, that is the result of us missing the movie. Like that, okay? So we're not talking about, what happens if it's not raining? It's not talking about, what happens if you want to drink coffee, then the coffee shop is not open, then we have to go to some other places. It's not like that. It's the fact that this is happening. We're talking about this exists, means right now it is happening. Why this is happening is because of this, because of that. So it is our tendency that we think exactly like what you're thinking, that it is supposed, then it's not happening. If it's not happening, then we're not talking about dependent origination. Dependent origination is always talking about it is happening like that. Like exactly why you are sitting here. Each one of us, the result of you sitting here, that is a result. The effect, the cause varies, okay? But there's a cause. And that's why right now you're sitting here. So then, every effect must also be the cause of something else. And the effect that you're sitting here right now, that's the effect. Every effect must also be the cause. That's also cause of something else. Then it's a cause for you to listen to dependent origination, to understand dependent origination a little bit more. Now I understand dependent origin because I happen to be there this Saturday afternoon listening to that. That effect that you're sitting here is the cause of you to be able to listen to some teaching of dependent origination. So everything that happens, cause, effect, all interrelated. The reason why we need to understand this is that you see that our whole life is like that. All the happening is like that. It's not just one-to-one. It is very complicated, very complex. And when you have this understanding, then whenever we meet something, rather than immediately jump to the conclusion that you are the cause, that allows us to sit back a little bit, let go, and look at it from the more broader perspective and say, hey, it's like that. Okay? It is like that. So this is the basis for the idea that there is no first and only cause. This is Buddhist teaching. That's why you call it beginningless time. There's no first and only cause. Something that does not itself needs a cause. Everything needs a cause. So if you talk about first and only cause, means there's something where before that doesn't have a cause. And that's where we Buddhists do not support the idea that there is a creator where it is always there. Where the creator comes from. We say the creator creates everything. Then the creator must come from somewhere. But you say the creator is always there. Then later on we are running a little bit slow, but yeah. That's why it gets more interesting. Okay. Come to that later. So understand that. There's no first and only cause. Dependent origination. Classic example is chicken and egg. Which one comes first? When they talk chicken and egg, we know all that this thing, right? Chicken and egg. Which one comes first? We are actually talking about dependent origination. Some people will say, Oh, then chicken come first. Then where chicken come from? Created by God. Then where God come from? So then, there's not chicken come first. Then you should say God come first. So like this, you follow. You cannot find a beginning. You cannot have a first cause. You cannot find something which is there on its own by itself. Such a thing does not exist. Based on Buddhist philosophy of looking at things, it does not exist. There's a logic behind it, okay? So all phenomena are said to be dependent, arising, because they arise in dependence on something else. They must depend on something else. So how do they arise? How do they come into being? How do they come to existence? So we come to the actual way of looking at dependent origination, how things arise. So how do phenomena come into existence? There are three general modes of looking at dependent origination or dependent arising. Firstly is that depending on causes and condition. This is very straightforward. All of us are quite familiar with it, causes and condition, all right? Depending on parts and directional or spatial particles, we go through it a little bit detail later on. And depending on laboring by the mind, which is a mental destination, relatively or mutually codependent. This is the most profound view of the middle way of the Prasangika school, philosophical view of dependent origination. So number one, depending on causes and condition. Arising depending on causes and condition. Some examples, fruits depend on the seed growing. Straightforward, right? But as you can see, when we explain like this, the durian fruit comes from where? It comes from the durian seed. So by talking like this, like as though like just very straightforward, durian seed gives us durian fruit. But if you look at it closely, durian seed itself is the substantial cause. Remember the two words, substantial and supporting. Substantial cause. There must be a durian seed. If you don't have durian seed, then you cannot be durian fruit. Okay? If you have a chili seed, then you cannot have durian fruit. So durian seed is a substantial cause. But then there are supporting causes. The durian seed must be planted in the ground. If you have a durian seed and you keep it in the fridge, is there going to be a durian fruit? Oh, if can, then I think all of us at home, you have a lot of durian fruits to eat, right? Every time we eat durian, you put the seeds in the fridge, and then after whatever time you open the fridge, wow, a lot of durians. No. It needs condition. So the durian seed need to be put onto the ground. The appropriate soil, the appropriate water, the moisture, the appropriate sunlight, and the appropriate fertilizer, whatever it is. And also the appropriate time. Doesn't mean that you put the durian seed inside, then instantly you have another durian coming out. No, it takes time. So all these are the supporting conditions for us eventually to have the durian tree. The durian tree itself depends on whether the durian tree flowers or not. That's also a condition. So when the durian tree flowers, depends on whether it got bees come in to fertilize it or not, right? If it's not fertilized, then the flowers doesn't become a fruit. So all these are conditions. And eventually, the fruits will be there. So therefore, when we say the durian's fruit comes from the durian seed, simply it is like that. But in terms of the whole operation, is a lot of conditions are there. And each one is the cause. Each one is the cause. The cause of having a durian tree is because of having the conditions of the durian seed growing. Cause of having the durian fruit is depending on the tree having flower. The conditions of having the flower, then the fruits depends on the bees and all that to fertilize the flowers. So like this, these are causes and conditions. Straightforward. We all know. Just that you think a little bit, you understand that. Rain depending on clouds. Okay? We say, oh, rain is because got clouds. No clouds, got no rain. Seldom. Usually there's rain. But where the clouds come from? All right? Yes. Depending on the condition, it must be the water from the sea or whatever it is must evaporate. And then when the evaporation goes up, then must meet up with some hot air, cold air, and then the water condenses and then becomes cloud. And then the right condition, then rain comes down. And also, rain comes down depending on whether you got wind or not. If there was strong wind, the clouds get blown away, then there's no rain. So all these are depending on causes, condition. Causes, condition. This straightforward, right? No need to explain too much. Ourself, birth from our parents, our growing up process. You are what? We come from where? We don't just come like that. No? Today's me comes from yesterday's me. If don't have yesterday, you don't have you. Is there you today? No, right? So today you, right? This moment comes from this morning's you. This morning's you came from yesterday's you. And yesterday's you came from last month you. The you of last month. And the you of last month came from the you of last year, when you are 1 year younger and 10 years younger, and all the way until you're a baby. And that your baby came from where? Came from our mother's womb. And our mother's womb, in the mother's womb, what happened? It came from where? It came from our father's sperm and mother's eggs being fertilized. So our existence, our come about, our arising, our existence is whole causes and conditions. Depending on all these causes, then only then we have what we call me or I as at this moment. Can accept this reasoning? Must contemplate. Go back, contemplate. Okay, so our whole growing up process also comes about that. No? So this is cause and condition. Then next way is depending on parts and spatial direction. Example, parts of our body. Me. This me depends on what? Depends on parts of our body. Our arms, our legs, our head, our main body, all these put together. So our arising, having this body, is a combination. A combination of having all these parts together. A car. What is a car? Describe a car. A car must have 4 wheels, right? Okay, some lorries got 6 wheels, 10 wheels, whatever it is. But a car, generally speaking, it must have wheels, must have chairs, must have a steering wheel. We have certain concept about cars. So, if I were to take your car, some of you have cars, you get somebody go downstairs now, and then dismantle your whole car. So at the end of this class, you go down there and look. What you see is, or what you will see is that got 4 tires there. Your steering wheel is there. Your engine is there. Your passenger seat are all laid out there, and your body shell of the car is there, all spread out. What is your question? What is your exclamation? Where is my car? Your car comes about by having these parts together. Only when you put them together in a proper place, then a car comes about. Other than that, there's no car. So a car, the arising, the existence of a car depends on the parts. So if I were to point and say, what are you talking about? Your car is there, what? There. This the engine block. There's your car. But that's only my engine block. That's not my car. That's part of my car. Then I point to the wheels or the tires. And that's your car. That's tires of my car. That's not my car. Right? So these are the parts which when put together becomes a car. So how does this car comes about? How does the car comes into existence? It's independence on parts. That's the meaning. Table. When we say a table, generally speaking, we talk about one simple table, simple table, one flat top, 4 legs, okay? Simple one, So that's a table. So if I were to dismantle this, put this plank, this flat piece of wood on the floor, and the 4 legs I just put separately, then somebody come in, and then I ask that person, do you see the table or not? What is the person's response? What table? Where got table? What this person saw is just one plank with 4 wooden sticks. But when I put all this, the 4 sticks together, and then with a plank, then the person, yeah, that's a table. So how does this table come about? Earlier, when he came in, there was no table. Now you put it, assemble it, then there's table. So the table arises independence on the parts. Independence on the parts put properly. This piece of wood, 4 legs, right? I take out 2 legs, and the other 2 legs remains, and then the other 2 legs I put on top. Got table or not? No table. You look, what is this? What you see is a piece of wood, plank, and then 2 wooden sticks on top, 2 wooden sticks below. Where got table? So, although all the parts are there, but if you do not put it properly, then there's no table. If it's not functional, it's also no table. This thing here, now you see, what is this? Table or? Why? Because it functions as a table, right? The cup is there, whatever it is, you put it there. Now, supposedly, I decide, now, clear off this, and I sit on this, put a cushion and sit on this, and have a nice, sit higher, sit on this. Then now somebody walks into the room. You see a table or not? No. He only see a high chair. So, functional. It must function. Then, because it was functioning as a chair, because I was sitting on it, it functions as a chair, therefore, a chair comes about. Alphabets of the word. Those who came early, you'll see at the beginning of the class, the main screen. Why you see, usually my main screen is just words. This time you see the words are running around. This is, hopefully, some of you may looking at that moment say, this is dependent origination. The word dependent origination, if you don't know what I'm talking about, next week you come early, before the class starts, and you look at it. The words dependent origination, these 2 words are put together. It must have the correct alphabets. They must spell correctly. And it must, even with the correct alphabets, you must put in the right order. Only then the word dependent origination, these words come about. So how does this word dependent origination, how does these 2 words come about? Depending on the alphabets, depending on the correct alphabets placed in the proper position. Put together, only then it comes about. That is dependent origination. That's why here, if you understand dependent origination, you just sit there, you see everything is dependent origination. That's a very important point. Because next week, we're going to talk about emptiness. When you see dependent origination, only then you can see emptiness. If you cannot see dependent origination, you cannot see emptiness. A lot of people try to say, emptiness subject, very, very good, very profound. I want to go and listen. Then the more you listen to emptiness, the more empty you are. Liabo. The proper approach is that first you understand dependent origination. Once you understand dependent origination, everything has to come together. Buddha said, all phenomena are dependent origination. Everything only comes about like that. So when you understand that, then you can see emptiness. When you see emptiness, then you can release from liberation, samsara. Release from samsara, attain liberation. And that tells you how important dependent origination is for us. It's not merely as a teaching, as a philosophy to say, oh, it's like that. No, we need to use that. That our understanding of dependent origination will be the key for us to attain liberation, to break away from samsara. If you cannot understand that, you cannot get out of samsara. Okay? So no matter how confused you are at this stage, die, next week you must come, okay? Yeah. So like book, for instance, or phone. Your phone. You see it's a phone. Phone comes as a parts, right? Must have battery, must have a case, then must have whatever touch screen, and must have whatever CPU, whatever memories, all that, all put together, then only there's a phone. Other than that, there's no phone. Right? So these are depending on parts. Spatial direction, north, east, south, west. Also, top and bottom, these are also dependent. This is a little bit more more profound. But I just put it there in the notes. If you want to ask questions, you can ask later on or next week. Okay? So then I want to go. I'm running slow. I'm going quickly. So then next one, this one is even more profound. Arising dependent, depending on mental destination, existing independence upon conceptuality, on our mind. Conceptuality is our mind. Just now we say causes and condition. There's a seed, therefore later on you have a plant or fruit. This form a concept, still a concept, strictly speaking, but then you can see that there's a seed, therefore you grow it, there's a flower coming out. All right. Then parts, all that we can see, the parts of the mobile phone or whatever it is. But then here is merely on conceptuality on the mind. This is the most subtle meaning of dependent origination. This conceptuality applies to all phenomena, conditioned, impermanent phenomena, and unconditioned, permanent phenomena. Okay, dependent relatively. They are dependent, some is relatively different ways. First, relatively. Good and bad. How does good come about? Remember, all these are concepts on the mind. When you say this cake is good, what do you mean? How does this goodness come about? There are different ways. The goodness come about, you can explain in different way. Goodness come about because of the ingredient, right? There's a good chef, then he used a good ingredient, then he put in the right amount of sugar, right amount of whatever it is, then he has the skill, and therefore the cake comes out very good, therefore it is good. That is due to causes and condition. Due to parts, he put in good quality nuts, he put in good quality, assuming it's a walnut cake, good quality nuts, use good quality flowers, use good quality eggs. Therefore, these parts put together, therefore, it is due to parts. All right? Then now, we are not talking about that. We talk about laboring. Good, this piece of cake is good. How does this good come about? It is relative to something which you ate in the past, which you say is bad. The very moment we say, this piece of cake is good, subconsciously, your mind is thinking of your experience in the past. You ate something, and you are comparing against that other piece of cake that you have eaten in the past. And by comparing that, depending on that, you say, this is good. Or you say, wow, this piece of cake is junk. It's really bad. This badness comes from where? This badness, how does this badness arise is depending on your mind comparing against the result. The cake you ate yesterday, which you say it is good. You find it more pleasant, more pleasurable. Therefore, remember without feelings, contact, you taste it, you have you taste it, there's the sense, contact, then you have the feeling, good or bad, pleasurable, unpleasurable, pleasant, not pleasant. Then after that, you have the craving and say, yeah, it's good. Okay. So based on that, then you say, this is yucks. Tall and short. What is tall, what is short? You say, I'm very tall. No, I'm very tall. You say you are very tall. What do you mean? It may not be very explicit, but inside you're thinking that generally speaking, Singaporean is this or average height, and I'm above average, therefore I'm very tall. So there's always relative. There must be comparing something. All right. What do you mean by near and far? Your house is near and far. Near or far? Compare against what? Oh, my house is very far. Why? Because it's Chinatown, very far. Then I stay in Jurong, lagi more far. Man. Then Chinatown is very near. So this far and near comes from where? Relative. Here and there. I'm here. Why are you there? Your friend say, I'm here. Why are you there? Get it or not? This, as I said, you have to contemplate. What is mean by going and coming? And what is meaning of pleasure and pain? You, at this moment, you say, what are you talking about? Why talking about this? This is exactly how, later on, when you look at it, our craving and grasping come in. I say this is good, that I want it. So, I eat this piece of cake, I say it's bad. Why? Then what happens? Not happy. So all our emotion, all this comes from there lah. You understand that, you say, oh, this is good, or say this is good and bad. Can you make a comparison? Of course you can. You don't say, oh, everything, don't discriminate. Eating this piece of cake and they get all the same. Cannot talk like that. Then people think that you are trying to show off or think that you are very smart or you are a block of wood. Right? No, yeah. You can say, yeah, this is good. Compared to yesterday, the piece of cake, this piece of cake tastes good. What's up? But we see good is good. And then we hold on to it. And that's where all the problem comes in. All right? We want grasping and then clinging and grasping. So then next one is even more subtle. Relativity is quite simple. You think tall and short, no? Long and short, tall and short, whatever it is. Dependent mutually, co-dependence or co-arising. Mother and child. Okay. We know, mother, child. Okay. What is the cause? Cause is the mother, right? There must be a mother as a cause, then the effect, you have a child. Okay? Mother is the cause, child is the effect. So, this is straightforward. Now I'm going to reverse it. Can there be a mother without a child? Cannot. If there's no child, I cannot go around and say, hey, I'm a mother, no? Then people say, oh, you're a mother, good. Where's your child? I got no child. When you have no child, the fact that we label this person as a mother means mother is in relation to a child. Don't talk about all this suffocating and all that sort of thing. All these other things, don't talk about that. That's not the point. The point is that to be a mother, you must have a child. Therefore, just now we said that mother is the cause, child is the effect. Now we are looking at reverse. Child is the cause, Mother is the effect. Without a child, cannot have a mother. Without a child existing, the mother does not exist. The fact that I exist as a mother is dependent on having a child. So the effect that I exist as a mother, which is the result, is dependent on the cause, which is the child. So now, mother, child, child, mother, is reverse. And this is what I mean by co-dependent, depending mutually to exist. Can a child exist without the mother or not? You know about, again, do not think that, the mother passed away or test tube baby. That's not the point. The point is that the child must come from the mother, come from a mother. Whether it's a test tube, whatever, it's come from a mother. So for the child to exist, there must be a mother. So for the mother to exist, there must be a child. This is how you call it dependent mutually. It is similar to relatively, as I mentioned earlier, but it is a little bit more subtle. Like tall and short, we know it is the thing. I'm tall. If I stand here talking to somebody, then I feel I'm tall. Is when I'm referring relative to the other person who is standing next to me. That person is short, then I say I'm tall. Then Scully, Yao Ming come in, then I cannot say that I'm tall, right? Right? So then when Yao Ming comes in and they say, I'm short, he's tall. So this is relatively talking about. But here, codependent is actually more subtle. You think. You think about it. Then dependent on name, merely labeled. This is the most subtle, the self-I. We will discuss this a little bit in detail as we go to session 4, looking for the I, the selflessness of the person I. How this I is being identified, merely by name. Okay, so this is arising dependent on mental destination. All these are just mental. There's nothing that you can measure, whatever it is, it's just mental. So, last slides. First few lines is straightforward. When this is, that arises. When this is, that arises. Example, like short when there's long. When you say there's short because there's a long. Okay, if there's no long, then cannot be short. So due to the production of this that is produced, light from the production of a flame. Light come from where? Come from the flame. The main point is that they do not exist through their own nature. Long doesn't stay on its own, by itself. There must depend on something else to have this concept or this idea long to come into existence. A flame does not stay on its own. A flame comes from the light. The light comes from the flame. Light means the brightness. The flame is the thing that's burning. Okay? So the main thing is that all these do not exist through their own nature, not on their own. Therefore, meaning that all these are selfless. Lack of a self. Lack of a self means sunyata. Next week we cover a bit on this. That dependent origination means sunyata, emptiness, selflessness. Okay? Any questions? Go back and think. So next session, session 1, session 2, we talk about dependent origination. What do we mean by dependent origination? That things come about depending on something, depending on something, depending on something. Then, actually, it will come to a point that say, that means there's no car lah. Why? If I really know, if I understand dependent origination so well, then everything I see, I only see car parts. Now, this is something you learn, no? Then next time you go to maybe take a ride from a car, your friend's car. Then your friend say, hey, this is my car. What car? I don't see car. I only see 4 tires, 1 shell, some seats, and an engine inside. Where got car? I only see parts. Oh, yeah, you should start to look like that. Seriously. Because that's the beginning of your practice. You must learn to see like this. Because once you see like this, you will not be attached. iPhone coming out, I must have. What iPhone? I only see the touch screen shaped like that. Inside got battery, got this. I only see the parts. Using your X-ray eyes. You no need to go and break it down. Once you see like this, or your dress, beautiful dress, so nice, so nice. What dress? Only a piece of cloth with this color, cut into this pattern, and then you sew like this, and then with some flowers here or there, whatever it is. Where? I only see the ribbons and all that. Where got dress? Immediately your attachment to the dress lessen. Saves you a lot of money. Because impulsively, here's the cut, I'll buy. Better still, you all learn like that. Go back, then your wife come back with, or your wife or husband come back with something new. Wow, darling, I bought this new dress on this new handphone. Where got? I don't see anything. I only see the parts. By practicing like this, everything will be cooled down. Okay. So, dependent origination means selflessness. There's nothing there. But then there is not the fault. There is a danger that once we go into session 3, then we see that, then there's nothing. Everything is empty. There's nothing there. Then you go into the extreme, that nothing is there. That's also not correct. Okay? Because you cannot say that there's no iPhone. Because it's an iPhone. You take up, you can dial. It has a function. It has iOS inside. Therefore, it's not a Samsung. It's an iPhone. Because it's not Android. So it functions as an iPhone. So you cannot say that iPhone doesn't exist. We have to reach a point where we're able to balance both sides. Then you are good. On the right path. Yes.
Yeah, earlier you mentioned because of grasping there's becoming. What exactly is becoming?
Becoming is the potential that is in your mind stream, which leaves an imprint in the mind stream, which will be carried forward to the next life. Okay, here potential essentially talks about very strong grasping of the self. That potential covers many, many things. But one of the main things we are talking about here, when we talk about the 12 link of dependent arising, is that there's an I. When we're dying, we have this thought, I don't want to die. All of us will think like that. I do not want to die. Grasping at a inherently existing I don't want to die. That leaves a very strong potential in our mind. And then when we die, physically die, that means when we stop breathing, our mental consciousness will automatically leave the body. And when that mental consciousness leaves the body, this potential means the ability to, the potential means ability to, or to become. That potential will automatically seek another new rebirth, depending on our karma. So when we die, automatically the mental consciousness will go and seek for another new parents, condition for the mental consciousness to go into the new parents, new mother's body, and take rebirth. That is called the potential of becoming. Okay, it's a mental consciousness, an imprint that is in our mind. That is the cause for us to take rebirth, to remain. So our purpose, ultimate purpose, is to cut off the I. Once you do not grasp the I, then at the time of death, there's no I that is dying. There's no substantial I, inherently existing I that is dying. What we have is the physical body. the aggregates, the physical body, the form aggregate, stop breathing, the brain stops functioning, the rest of the body stops functioning, cease to function, and that is called death. This is what the medical term, death. When you monitor, the heartbeat stop, breathing stop, everything all stop. All the instruments at one straight line. Then you are dead, doctors say. So that is just a process of the physical aspect. The I, there's no I that die. There's the mental consciousness that will leave the body. That mental consciousness does not die. On a very rough level, we can say that mental consciousness is an I. But it's not truly an I. You go deeper, you find that that's not also not I. So there's no I, solidly existing I that is dying. Once you are able to break through that, then you are completely released. Like a child when we see a child look at the rainbow, they say rainbow very nice. After a while, the rainbow disappears, right? Conditions changes, right? Causal and condition changes, then rainbow disappear. The child will cry, Daddy, I miss the rainbow. I want the rainbow. But will you cry or not? No. You know that. Sun. It's just because there's a sun, because there's a rain, and the sunlight shines this way, therefore it reflects, and therefore there's a rainbow. When the sunlight moves, or when the sun moves position, and the rain stops, whatever it is, then the rainbow disappears. It's just a phenomena. It's like that. No need to cry, no need to hold on to it. It's exactly the same point. We have the understanding, but we don't have the understanding that there's this I. So at the time of death, when we are dying, that moment, we have this, automatically this thought will come in, I am dying. I don't want to die. When we hold on to that, that becomes a strong potential for us to take rebirth. And we take rebirth because of all the karmas that we have done in the past, and that causes us to take rebirth, whether in the higher realms or as a dog or cow or whatever it is in the lower realms. Okay? Yeah, so next week, continue. I hope you'll continue to come. So a short dedication, 3 verses. Through the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood and lead all living beings without exception into their enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. May the supreme view of emptiness that has not arisen arise and grow. And may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Okay, so thank you very much. See you next week.